Up next on CBC, are you tired of arguing in comment sections online? Or maybe you're not even bothering to comment because you feel there's no point in screaming into the void. We are continuing to look for people to take part in a first ever Manitoba Talks. You might have heard us talking about this on the show here on Radio 1, or maybe you were prompted already to answer a survey question if you were reading one of our stories online on CBC. Manitoba Talks is a first of its kind event in Canada. It is designed to create meaningful conversations between people who want to discuss polarizing issues, but in a respectful manner. Now, the program's based on the My Country Talks model, which was created by the German news outlet Zeit Online. To learn more, we have reached Sebastian Horn, the deputy editor-in-chief over at Zeit Online, and he joins us via Zoom. Hi there.
Hi, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. So tell me a little bit about an overview of what My Country Talks looks like. You've been doing this, you said, for 8 years?
Yeah, that's right. We obviously started off in Germany 8 years ago, ahead of federal elections that we had here. And the idea came about when we were sitting together in a newsroom, thinking of new formats of how we can approach these elections. And someone said, well, when was the last time each of us talked to someone, outside of a bubble that we disagree with? And then we actually wrote down on a piece of paper, political Tinder, or Tinder for politics. So the crazy idea at the time was to actually match people based on opposing political views. And that sounded completely crazy at first, but then we actually went and tried that experiment, and to our big surprise, more than 12,000 people signed up in the first year when we did it in Germany. It all went peaceful. Everyone was happy about the experience. Lots of selfies of people smiling that reached us afterwards. And then we were approached by news outlets, media outlets from all over the world who said we have equally polarized societies in our countries, and can we please use your software? And the truth of the matter is that at that point, there was no software. We had literally hacked all this together, and that was the moment that we decided to build this out into a proper international program that CBC is now using in Canada.
It's just amazing. I mean, even that first response you had just speaks to the need for something like this, right? That it's not just obviously in our newsrooms where we're, answering these questions. We're seeing this all over the world, people going into silos. What kind of topics were discussed between those first participants?
They were mostly social and political questions, although we do make usually the point that they're not about politicians or parties per se, more about policies. So they could be immigration, it could be environment. And, they're always yes and no questions, but the experience is that when people start talking, the discussion tends to be much more nuanced, obviously.
And what did you hear from some of the first group of participants after their conversations? What did they share with you?
I'd say it's twofold. One is that they build empathy towards other people's point of view. And there's actually studies now that have been done with participants in My Country Talks that can demonstrate that. So when you participate, that helps you build trust and helps you build understanding towards other people's point of view. Although some people also said it can be quite exhausting to have such a conversation. You're meeting a stranger after all. Some of these conversations can go for hours. We know of couples that talked over several cappuccinos in a cafe, and then they said, well, it's an amazing experience, but it's definitely one where you might need some rest afterwards.
Did anything get heated? Because somebody looking at this might think that this could actually get quite contentious.
Not that we know of, no. I mean, we do ask participants for feedback afterwards. They fill out these brief surveys, and it was just overwhelmingly positive. I think it really the format speaks to people who think they should be doing more than just reading and consuming the news. They actually want to engage. They want to participate in democratic discourse. They disagree strongly. I mean, we have some of these events where people actually disagree on most of the questions, but the conversations, as far as we know from the past 8 years, have always been really respectful and civilized.
What's your sense of what the long-term impact is or could be when a community hosts a series of talks like this?
Um, I think, again, it's for those who participate, they clearly feel the effect of this. They see that it is worth to engaging in these kind of conversations, to reach across the aisle, to spend time with those that you disagree with or disagree with strongly. And I think for us as media outlets, it's important also to cover these kind of connections, these conversations that take place, to kind of amplify them, to multiply them, and it's still something that we quite strongly believe in, that we should be reaching out to all people, and we should make dialogue possible. That's part of our mission as a media outlet.
What was it what was your sense of what was happening in your community, if you can put your mind back 8 years when you were thinking that dialogue was becoming impossible? Beyond that initial sort of meeting with the newsroom where you guys were talking about it, what was going on either in the threads, or what were your reporters noticing about the community that told you that this was something that is needed?
Yeah. So we did it on a federal level, like across all of Germany, so 80 million people. When we first came up with the idea, that was at a time where the right-wing party in Germany, the Alternative for Germany, was polling really high, but was not yet established in local, regional, or national parliament. So it was quite a shock to see a right-wing party in Germany poll that high. And at that time, everyone was really puzzled, especially us as journalists, to explain where that is now coming from. And that led us to this thought of, do we really, spend enough time with people who would vote for this party? What are our personal, circles like? And that's how we ended up with this idea of, we should try to make dialogue possible, and build this kind of empathy, and make conversations possible to better understand. When we do it now, it's obviously a bit different, because now they are clearly established, that they're polling as high, if not even higher. And still, after discussions we had internally about this, we still think it's worth having these conversations, and there are things we can still agree on, and we can build understanding and empathy.
How do you defend the idea to those who might still find it challenging and say that some of the reasons that people go into silos is because people are defending what their thoughts are with things that aren't factual? And we're journalists and we deal with facts. And so sitting two people down um, to quote, agree to disagree on something that actually has facts involved can be very tricky, or they might be so offended by someone's point of view that they just can't fathom that. I'm just wondering whether you've ever been in a situation where you've had to defend the idea of championing speech and connection, as you said, which is the intention.
Yeah, so I've participated in this format myself, and we did host events on stage where I interviewed people voting for parties that I would definitely not agree with. And I can say so where I disagree. I can point to the facts as I have them. But in every occasion that I had these kind of encounters, I walked away at least with a better grasp of where the other person was coming from. It's oftentimes related to their biography, their personal situation. When they put their own frustration, their own points of view towards politics into words, it does build some kind of connection, and at least there was some kind of dialogue, instead of me retreating into my stereotypes about other people.
Yeah, it's about understanding above all. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes, I think it's about humanizing opinions, if you want to put it that way. But behind every political belief, there's also a human being that has reasons why they have this belief. This is not saying that I have to sympathize with that. That's not saying that I cannot disagree. I can disagree strongly. I can object. But it's not, I'm not dehumanizing and just saying there's like a part of society that is completely, not worth talking to at all, and that because they're simply crazy. There's at least an attempt to maintain some kind of connection and dialogue. Yeah.
Well, what an idea. And we're grateful that you had it in your, newsroom all those years ago and that we're able to look at this in Canada now and for a first time in Manitoba. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Appreciate your time with us on CBC.
Thank you for having me, and good luck with this format.